Precisely 1:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. Talks between foreign ministers of New Zealand and Sri Lanka gets underway. The Indian Foreign Minister meets the Prime Minister. Petrol shipment scheduled to arrive today delayed. Chinese ambassador met the Minister of Public Security. News overseas, Taliban appeal for international aid. Local news in detail. Foreign Minister Peiris briefed his New Zealand counterpart about the staff-level discussion currently taking place with the IMF in Colombo and the support which the country is receiving from bilateral donors as well as multilateral institutions in respect of supplies of food, fuel and medicines. He underlined the importance of bridging finance during the next few weeks. The New Zealand Foreign Minister agreed to look into the possibility of support from New Zealand and the Commonwealth. Minister Peiris requested the assistance of New Zealand with regard to the development of Sri Lanka's dairy industry and agro-based industries, with a particular reference to the supply chain and logistics. The two ministers discussed cooperation in the fields of higher education and vocational education, with an emphasis on disciplines like computer and information technology intended to make education more relevant from the standpoint of livelihoods. They also discussed cooperation in ocean-related issues, given the importance both Sri Lanka and New Zealand attach to matters such as climate change, global warming, and conservation of ocean resources. The two ministers shared thoughts about the future of the Commonwealth as a force for the good of humanity in the modern world. Foreign Minister also held bilateral discussions with Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and Diaspora Relations of Dominica, Dr. Kenneth Melchior, on closer collaboration with the Caribbean region in the fields of trade, tourism and working together in international fora. A discussion between Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Foreign Secretary of India, Vinay Quatra, who visited the country this morning, is being held at the Prime Minister's office. His one-day visit related to the bilateral assistance provided to Sri Lanka by India in the current economic situation. The Foreign Secretary is accompanied by Secretary of the Department of Economic Affairs of the Ministry of Finance of India, Ajay Seth, Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India, Dr. V. Anand Nageshwaran, and Joint Secretary of the Indian Ocean Region, Karthik Pandey, of the Ministry of External Affairs of India. The delegation will meet the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. They will hold talks with the senior officials on the current economic situation and long and short-term discussions. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. Continuing with more local stories, the shipment of 40,000 metric tons of petrol, which was scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka this morning, is delayed by one day, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara says. Taking to his Twitter account, the lawmaker announced that limited volumes of petrol and super diesel will be distributed in the country today and tomorrow. However, auto diesel stocks are distributed at full capacity island-wide, he added. A discussion between the Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Chi Shen Hong, and Minister of Public Security, Tiran Alas, was held at the ministry in Battaramulla yesterday. They discussed the matters related to the present economic crisis, the political situation, and to enhance bilateral relations between the two countries. The Chinese ambassador said that they will give their fullest support to Sri Lanka at this crucial time. That's local news for the moment.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira says that facilities have been made to issue fuel for farmers for the yellow season in 247 filling stations in the island. He made these remarks at a meeting held with the representatives of the Research Officials Associations. Measures will also be taken to harvest all paddy fields in the island.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight, the agri-crops trade stalls constructed at the Deputy Agricultural Office premises in Munaragala to sell vegetable and fruits of farmers are being abandoned without taking any use. The residents in the area have been requested to relevant authorities to open this trade stall to facilitate the farmers to sell their products. That's on Watchlight. Moving on to world news headlines. Taliban appeal for international aid. BRICS summit members push for global clouds amid Ukraine war. Russian troops close in on key cities in eastern Ukraine. World news in detail. The Taliban in Afghanistan have appealed for international support as the country deals with the aftermath of a devastating 6.1 magnitude earthquake. More than 1,000 people have been killed and at least 1,500 injured. Unknown numbers are buried in the rubble of ruined, often mud-built homes. Southeastern Paktika province has been worst hit and the UN is scrambling to provide emergency shelter and food aid. Rescue efforts are being hampered by heavy rain and lack of resources. The leaders of the BRICS group of nations are meeting this year amid major shifts in the geopolitical order. The group, which owes its name to the initials of its 5 member states, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, is holding its annual summit today, but without much fanfare or huge expectations. Talks will also be held in a virtual format for the 3rd consecutive year. The last 2 were held during the COVID pandemic, but it's not clear why the leaders chose to skip face-to-face meetings this year. Finally, on world news, Russian troops in eastern Ukraine seem poised to capture the cities of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. Commanders believe taking control of these key areas will allow them to complete their conquest of the region. In Severodonetsk, hundreds of civilians appear to be trapped inside a chemical plant. A pro-Russian militant said his forces are very close to the complex and have occupied a base and training ground for the Ukrainian security service. Many residents fear the area will soon fall into Russian hands. Some have managed to flee before that happens. About 200 civilians have found their way to safety near the capital, Kyiv. That's on world news. Moving on to development news. The Department of Sri Lanka Community Water Supplies has taken measures to implement a community water conservation project. The UNICEF will provide their support for the project. The project will be implemented, covering 25 districts in the island.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
And on sports news, Sri Lankan cricketer Charit Asalanka says that international attention has been paid on Sri Lankan cricket team as an emerging team. He said the Sri Lankan team was able to defeat several cricket teams during the past period. Addressing a media briefing, he also stated that Sri Lanka received a great victory by defeating world-strong Australian cricket team, and he has been recorded a century at the 4th ODI played against the Australian team and became the pilot of the team. He reiterated that their aim is to face the Asian and World Championship tournaments successfully in the future. That's on Sports News.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP You Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Recognizing the need to implement a comprehensive cross-border transactions and domestic foreign currency transactions monitoring system as a key national priority, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has implemented a new data collecting system known as the International Transactions Reporting System with the participation of licensed commercial banks and licensed specialized banks.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP You Trust.
Economic News,
courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The Export Agricultural Department has pointed out that there is a high demand for coffee in the world rather than for the drinking water and tea. The market for coffee demand in the year 2020 has exceeded $104 billion. The department is expected that it will increase up to $150 billion by the year 2028. The department also stated that it is important to manage coffee cultivation and harvest in order to earn dollars needed for the country. That's on Economic News.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And on the weather update, the Met Department says that several spells of showers will occur in western, Sabaragamuwa, northwestern provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in Uva province and in Ampara and Batticlaw districts during the afternoon or night. That's the weather update, and before we conclude this bulletin of news, back to the headlines. Talks between foreign ministers of New Zealand and Sri Lanka gets underway. The Indian foreign minister meets the Prime Minister. Petrol shipment scheduled to arrive today delayed. Chinese ambassador met the Minister of Public Security. And on news overseas, Taliban appeal for international aid. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news.